So today we're off to explore a bit of our industrial and political heritage, and it relates to the Chartist movement of 1838 to 1848, and it really relates to the settlement that grew out of that Chartist one. And this is Corse and Staunton, which, as it says there, is a Chartist settlement since 1848. Now the Chartist movement was one pushing for political reform, and it's fair to say it had a profound effect on the political landscape in the UK. And as we exported our political and democratic institutions around the globe, it's fair to say that it had a profound effect globally as well. And we'll cover off what Chartism was all about in a moment, but actually what we're going to see here is the relics of that attempt to create a sort of working class utopia that puts working people in property for the first time through Chartist settlements. And if we'll look at that now, as we're over at the place in Corse and Staunton, and the settlement of the day was called Snigs End. So I'll just park up here and we'll have a look round and explore the heritage that is living here in plain sight. Chartism was actually born out of the Industrial Revolution, which saw the creation of a large urban working class who were massively underrepresented at Parliament, and so literally had no democratic say in the running of the country. And what came out of that was a desire for change, and that prompted something called the People's Charter, which in 1938, which basically listed 6 things that would benefit the working class in the UK and give them small representation. So the first of those was the vote to be given for any male over the age of 21. They did originally try and make it for men and women to be over the age of 21, but they just realised that at that point it would most probably not be successful, so they just went for some lower hanging fruit, which was the under 21s. So that was the first one. The second one was to do with the qualification to be an MP. So the qualification at that point was that you had to be a property owner, which obviously excluded almost all of the working class. And then allied to that, the third demand was that the MPs drew a salary, because obviously even if you allowed someone to be an MP, if you had to give up your day job to do that, then you couldn't survive, which in effect barred you again from becoming an MP. So that was the third one. The fourth one, that there should be secret ballots. Obviously in the country at that time, often the person standing to be an MP would also be your employer, so it was quite disadvantageous for them to find out that you voted against them. So it was secret ballots. And the fifth one was that all constituencies were equal. So back in that day, because the northern towns particularly had grown so quickly, they didn't have an MP, or they'd have one MP for 20, 30,000 people. But in other districts there could be an MP for 400 people, because they were the old county districts. So that was the fifth one. And obviously all of those things have come to pass now, primarily because of the agitation by the Chartists. So whilst they didn't get them by the time Chartism ended, they came rapidly afterwards, and it was undoubtedly Chartism that was the spark to make all that happen. The sixth point that they were after was annual elections, and I think we have to count ourselves lucky that that one didn't come to pass, because that would be an absolute disaster. So of their 6 points, very rapidly after the end of Chartism, due to the spark they'd lit, 5 of their 6 demands became true. So an amazing effect on the country's political and industrial landscape. As well as agitating for political change, the Chartists also sought to give opportunities for working class people to purchase property, so they could become landed, and obviously could participate in the politics of the country by having a vote. They did that by buying parcels of land and having a ballot to allocate those to the lucky, fortunate ones who won in the ballot. And they were small cottages with 2, 3 or 4 acres around them that they could then settle in, become self-sufficient and become landowners. And the physical evidence of that is still very much here in Snigs End, so we'll go and have a look. So in 1847, the Chartist Land Company, for the sum of £11,000, bought 268 acres. in Snigs End and put 81 cottages on it, all of the same design, and each of them had either 2, 3 or 4 acres. And behind me is one of those cottages. We'll just have another closer look, but it is a real piece of our political and industrial heritage. So this is one of the Chartist cottages. There were 81 in total, all built to the same design. And it was a very simple design. So you have a central gable with 2 wings either side. And if you look at the floor plan, you can see that the wings, one was a sitting room and one was 2 bedrooms. So very simplistic design, very easy to build. And I say uniformly across the 81 cottages and all the other cottages in the other Chartist settlements, it was one design. Out the back, so they could be self-sufficient, you'd have some open pens, one for a pig, one for a pony, one where you could put your cart, and then there was a well with a pump so you could draw your own water. So very self-sufficient, 2, 3 or 4 acres, so you could grow your own food, but also hopefully produce some extra food, a surplus that you could sell for some extra income to buy the things that you couldn't produce yourself. So yeah, there you go. And if the top of the gable as well, you can see a little mark. Every single one of them had that symbol, which is the symbol of Chartism. Well, I'm back outside the building I was at the start of this, for good reason, because this building behind me is actually another Chartist building. It was going to be the school, well, it was the school for a short period of time when the cottages went in. Sadly, no more. But if you look at it, if I turn the camera around, and you can see, it's actually to the same design, so a central gable, a wing either side, so it mirrors the cottages but on a much grander scale. So the really sad thing for me is the state of this building. This is our political and industrial heritage, and this is how we treat it. It's quite astounding that we'll let this happen. And I think collectively, and those people who are directly responsible should hang their head in shame for the state of this building. If you just go around the back, you can see the various side of it. But again, principle is, this is how we treat our history. So here we have the school building for Snigs End. Once they were building a working class utopia where working men could own property, get on with their lives, better themselves, and this is how we've left it. I think it's reflective of a lot of things, but there you go. Such a shame that a building like this and a dream like this has been left to fall into this state of disrepair till one day it'll be declared unsafe, no doubt, and demolished, and it'll be gone. But there you go. So that was one part of Snigs End. The other part, which is much more preserved, is just down here. There's an old crescent that has been pretty much left as it was. So we'll just have a quick whiz round here, and you can see all the Chartist cottages, much as they were many, many years ago. Some slight renovations on some of them, but in the main, here they are. So if we just pull in here into a place called Ledbury Crescent, on the left-hand side, there are rows upon rows of Chartist cottages. Now some of them are like this one, are hidden behind a very large hedge, but as we come down here you can start to see that familiar design that we saw earlier. I say some have had additions and pieces put on the front of them, but in the main they are pretty much as they were, particularly the frontage. So there you go, look, that same old design that they all consisted of. Yeah, remarkable. Just I say, hiding in plain sight. I mean, look at that. That's pretty much as it was, with some new windows. Here you go, and another one. A bit of paint, but can't disguise what it was. So a whole cul-de-sac, a whole crescent here of Chartist cottages. Yeah, extraordinary. So there you go, Chartism, part of our industrial and political heritage. So we'll be on our way now, but actually I've just realised there's one other thing to have a quick look at up here, just on the edge of the village. So just up here on the left hand side, and we'll pull in and have a look. It's amazing the things that are just off the beaten track, not signposted, but there for you to enjoy if you take the time to find them. So here we are, we'll just pull in here and pop up and see the church. So just outside Snigs End is this little church, St James's Church, and it's worth a visit just because of its very, very ancient yew tree. Now, yew tree is obviously associated with Christianity, but they're also associated with pagan times, and so sometimes people would build churches where there was an existing yew tree because it was deeply symbolic and quite reverential to have a yew tree. Now this one along here, you can just see it coming into view near the church itself, has been dated quite recently and has been found to be over 2,000 years old, which is a hell of a time by anybody's measure. And to put that in perspective, 2,000 years ago was roughly when Boadicea rebelled against the Romans. Or to put it another way, it's about 800 years before the Vikings raided Lindisfarne. So this is this tree, and it is truly something quite remarkable. So there you go. Church itself, very pleasant, worth a visit, but really it's this little natural wonder that's worth a visit. So there you go. There is one other thing, which quickly to show you, which is a personal hobby of mine when I do drop into churches. Also at this church, in keeping with lots and lots of other churches, there is a war memorial. I always think when you come to war memorials, you just need to look at the detail of the name, and it just really brings home how damaging the conflict was. So if you just look at this here, 1939 to 1945, down the bottom, the last four names all have the same surname. So they might not have been the same family directly, but they would have been uncles and brothers, sons. I mean, what a price to pay. And when you start looking at these, particularly in the small places like this, it's often the case. So if we come over here to another side, once again, we have 2 Phipps, we have 3 Salisburys. I mean, it really did impact families in a really brutal and destructive way. So anyway, there you go. I have to say, what an absolutely beautiful place this is for a church. Anyway, on the bike, the weather's too good to stand around, so we're going to get some miles in.